Hello, welcome to Steph's World, the world according to Steph, Love and Light. It's Merry Christmas time. How about that? Merry Christmas, my goodness. You know, the thing of it is, it's become very commercialized, and I suspect that it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that's okay. That's all right. And I wonder too, I have not researched enough to know whether the people that believe in Islam and all that in that religion, whether or not they celebrate Christmas. I have not researched enough. Hopefully I'll get some good responses from this and people will let me know. But I do intend to research it because I'm very inquisitive. Now, a lot's happened to me lately, an awful lot. And I think it's important. Oh, by the way, I'm not worried about time. Not today. And I'm sorry if other people are, get over it, because I'm just not. Some of the things that I believe that I am supposed to be saying are necessary. Absolutely necessary. Next week, after all my many doctor appointments, I am going to, probably the week after that, I am going to write that blog that I've been talking about, A Vision for You. And most people probably won't read it, but it'll be out there. And I'll put it out there in many places too. Okay, now let's get on with the subject that I really want to talk about, because this is the perfect day for it. How about that? Christmas. And I want to talk about love. Oh yeah, love. Now before we get started, this is what I used to do in the old days. Dictionary. You notice how torn up this little number is? I used this in college. Yeah. That was before iPads and even regular computers. The only computers we had, for the most part, were mainframe. How about that? It was that long ago. Okay. Love. There's several definitions of it, and it depends on where you're at in regard to how these definitions affect you or how you feel about them. Okay, love. 1. A strong affection. 2. Warm attachment. It has an equivalent of the sea. Now, I'm not sure I know what that means, and hey, I'm not the smartest person in the world. They say I'm kind of smart, but I ain't the smartest. I'm not sure why that's related to that, but I'm not going to worry about that. It might mean how the sea rolls. Maybe that's what it means, because love definitely rolls. Ups and downs. And then, let's see, attraction based on sexual desire. Oh, I know a lot of you. That's the love you're familiar with. Not the parents. Maybe you are towards your mate, but not towards your children. That love is a really special love. And for just a moment, I am going to discuss it. Okay, and then we have a score of 0. Oh, wait a minute. Now, there is a tennis part. If you've ever played tennis, you know, that's how one of the scores, that's how they do it. Okay, and then there's another part of love, and that's cherish. Very important. Cherish. To feel a passion, devotion, or tenderness for. Caress. To take pleasure in. So, there's a lot of pieces to love, and there's a lot more than just that. That's what I believe. It didn't even get into, well, I can't lay back at this point. I'll try to get one of my other pillows. Here, where is it? Try to get this up here. Get better. You haven't heard from me lately because when they took those x-rays of me, my doctor finally looked at them because I made a big deal out of it and said, hey, we got a problem here. The radiologist didn't write up the right analysis of it. It was totally wrong. My fusions were not defined properly at all. They had my fusions at different levels that they weren't at. So, oops, we got a problem. Now, I'm not going to get into that too much, but here I want you to know that pretty soon you may be seeing me in a wheelchair. And it probably should have been done much longer ago, but I'm stubborn and I'm determined. And I'll hold off as long as I can. I really will. Okay, let's talk about love. Now, the first part of love I'm going to talk about is the love between a man and woman. I know a lot about that. I've been married 4 times. But you know what? It's not because of that I know a lot about it. It's because of the other people in my life and the observance that I have done of them and their love and their devotion to each other. My mother is so sick right now, it's unbelievable. She's in a nursing home, and we never know from day to day when that day will come when we'll get the phone call. But the point is, my father literally moved there so he could get some help with her from one of my sisters. I actually have 2 sisters in the north. Well, they found out they couldn't handle her at home. She was too bad. They didn't realize just how bad she was. It was a miracle my father got her as far along as he did and controlled her that well and dealt with it. If you've ever dealt with Alzheimer's, you'll have some understanding of what I'm talking about. An Alzheimer's person, when they're really, really, really bad, sometimes they don't even remember any of their family. And my mother doesn't remember most of her family anymore. And they don't even remember what they did 10 minutes ago. See? So it's kind of tough to talk to them. You just have to talk to them kind of like, not like a child, but almost like a recording that you have to re-record. That's the best example I can give. And it's tough. It's tough. Now, I'll never see my mother again. Chances are very slim. I am extremely challenged or disabled, whichever way you want to call it. I can't sit in a car for more than an hour. I can't sit in much of anything, to be honest with you. And I have seizures, and I have a lot of things. So it's not good. But moving on. I'll just stay where I'm at. That's the best policy. Now, I am going to be going to some special medical places pretty soon. But I'm not inclined to let anybody do any more operations on me. I've had enough. I've had a lot of spinal operations and brain. Okay, now love. My father is devoted to my mother. Absolutely devoted. Now, they had 6 children, and I was the eldest. And to be honest, most of us feel that our father may pass away shortly after our mother passes away. We don't know what's going to happen, of course. We don't have a time machine. We can't see the future. But we do know how attached he is to her. And he loves her. Now here's the funny part. The strange part. My father met my mother, and from that moment on, he knew that was the woman that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He knew at that moment. He knew. Now, I know a lot of people like that. I know some young people that way right down here. And I'm impressed. And that tells me a lot. I've learned a lot from watching that. I've never had that. I thought I did once, but I didn't. I didn't. And it didn't matter what happened between us. The foreverness and the devotion part wasn't there. Now, I believe that when a man and woman devote their lives, when they say those marriage vows, or when a man and man do it, or when a woman and woman do it, and I don't care what you think about it, I believe that love comes to all of us, no matter what. And you can turn me off if you don't like it. But you know, more religions are beginning to accept it finally. Finally. It's been going on from the beginning of time. And they act like it's something new. Everybody acts like it's something new. How ridiculous we are at times. Come on. Aren't we a little pretentious that, you know, we do things like that? Well, anyway, the point is, though, it's the devotion. Now, when a person falls in love and they say, oh, I want to get married, blah, 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 and they go through that wonderful marriage and they go out, out to sea, and they go to the Bahamas for a vacation, or if they're rich, who knows what they do, but they really celebrate. And they have a lot to celebrate for, because they've got, providing nothing happens, they have a lot of years ahead of them and a lot of experiences ahead of them, good and bad. Now here's the problem. We said divorce is okay. Yep. When I was a child, divorce wasn't really okay. Even though people were doing it and they weren't being scrutinized about it quite as bad, it wasn't okay. Remember, I'm 60, okay? So let's go back a few years when I was a child now. Now, when I got into the 60s, oh boy, everything changed. Oh my goodness. Marriage? Who cared about marriage? You know, we were taking our bras off and doing all kinds of wild things. And yes, we were. We were. That was our generation. And now, I don't know what's happened to our generation. They kind of went... But they did leave an imprint. We always leave an imprint with every generation. Always. Believe me, we do. And I think some of us grew up a little bit. And I'm going to say for me, a little bit. I got a lot more growing up to do, trust me. But I'm doing pretty good. I really am. I'm learning every day. I'm getting better every day. And I'm happy about that. So, love between a man and a woman who make vows with each other, that's a tough deal. We're talking about a lifetime. You know, if you're going to get a divorce, why would you get married? See, I know about that. I know about that. I know about the mental illness that comes with getting married and then getting a divorce. Because I think it is some mental illness involved. Some of you may not agree, but I'm sorry, but in my case it was. I'll just use me. It was. I had what they called a bad picker, okay? I really did. But I don't think my last husband was a bad picker. I truly felt deeply in love with this man. But unfortunately, and he was in love with me, but unfortunately, he had some very severe problems. And those problems interfered with our ability to maintain a devotion to each other for our whole lives. We both had to grow up. And we were far from grown up. Now, I was working towards it, but he wasn't. So if one's up here and the other one's down here, and the other one down here isn't trying to keep growing, and this one's trying to grow, it's not going to work. It's never going to work. And even if you do stay with them, you'll end up hating them. You really will. In the end, you will not be devoted to that person. When you're in your 80s, you will not be devoted to that person. My parents are my dad's 83. My mother is 78. They are devoted to each other. And they're not the only ones. I've just been using them as an example. And don't think that their lives were easy. They were hard. They were difficult. They were unbelievably difficult. But they stuck to it. They stuck to it. And at one point, they almost didn't stick to it. But my dad wasn't going to let go. He was going to fight for his woman. Do whatever it took to get her back. And she came back. Thank God. She came back. But you know, there are those times in a relationship when suddenly we feel like we're far away from each other. Okay, maybe we are. It doesn't mean we need to get a divorce. It means we need to give each other that space, that time to do their growing and for us to continue our growing. You know, we're here to help each other grow. Oh yes, we are. You betcha. Talk to any psychologist about it, they'll tell you. Believe me, ask them. If you're seeing a psychologist right now, ask them. See what they say about it. At any rate, so love is it's a pretty strong deal. And love, when you have deep love in your heart for any human being, you will bend over backwards to keep them in your heart and to keep them close to you somehow. Even if they don't want to be, you will. Because that's what love is. I believe I read that. Let's see. To feel a passion, devotion, and tenderness for. You know, the tenderness part especially. If they move away from you, and let's say they're your children, and they've gone away from you. And children do that when they grow up. You wait and see. Not all of them, but some do. And you think that you were a good parent. You really believe that. So it's kind of a shock when your child suddenly, well, they're gone. And it's early. It's very early in life. They might only be 17 years old and they're gone. And this is a child that you've worked real hard to protect and take care of. Because in their early years, they almost died. Yeah. And you spent days and days and days at hospitals with this child when they were so sick. something happened when they grew up. And they got a boyfriend. And they thought that they were madly in love with that boyfriend. So their love, even though there was a mother love and a father love, even though there was that love, that devotion moved from mommy to this young man. That's what happens. But usually, in a healthy relationship, usually we have enough love to continue to give to our mother and our father. Usually. It's a hard job to make a relationship work. It's rough. It's hard. And there are times when you want to just say, forget this. I'm getting a divorce. I'm done with you. Blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole 9 yards. But you know what? Don't do that. Hang in there. Because by the time you get to your 50s, life's different. How you look at life is different. Women change. Oh boy, do women change. For the better. Oh, much better. I would not go back to my 20s if you paid me. If you promised me that my spine would be okay. If you told me that I would never have to live in pain, I still would never go back to my 20s again. Nah. I've entered my 60s now, and I'm quite happy. So, no thank you. Now, let's say you're married. If you find a woman that is still learning through her life, as I am, and I think there's a lot of us out there, I really do. I have several friends that are my age. They're learning. And, you know, I help reinforce my friends when they're married. When I see that there is true love and devotion between both of them, I let my friend know that she needs to be grateful. Absolutely grateful that that man loves her as deeply and probably much more deeply than he's ever loved her. And by the time you get to our age, everything changes. It really does. But it changes for the good. For the good. You know, it's like we all had to go through our woman thing and our man thing for years. And we just had to hang in there with each other, you know? For those of you who have done that. And I bet you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to mention one other kind of love. Mother and child. I had 3 children. And it was a miracle that I had any children at all, because I had miscarriages left and right. I was pregnant 9 times. Okay. All right, now, I had 2 boys and a girl. My oldest son was from a different man who I really cared about. Now, I was not madly in love with him, but I cared about him. I knew him for a full year. but I got pregnant. We didn't even mean to do what we did. It just suddenly happened one night. We were having dinner together, and things happened. And I got pregnant. And I was 19 years old. Very young. He was a college student, and he worked at the same place I did. I never told him that this child I was carrying for 9.5 months was his. That was wrong of me. I don't know how I'm ever going to make amends to this man. I don't know how. But I wish I could. Because he has a son out there. Now, here's the sad part. I'm not going to throw blame. That's a rule. We don't blame. We don't judge. Okay? People may have the very best for you in their hearts, but that doesn't mean that they can fulfill what they say they're going to do. You need to realize that. Sometimes it's just not gonna work out. When my child was 8 months old, I was working 2 jobs, and I never saw him. Sundays I saw him. Now I know he knew that I was his mommy. I know that. But I didn't feel like much of a mother. I was working in a factory during the day and working at a drugstore at night. Now, if my family had continued to help take care of him when I went to the night job, it might have been a little better. But that stopped. For whatever reason, it stopped. So then, that meant the babysitter had my child from 6:30 in the morning until 9:30 at night. Almost all 5 days of the week. And then even on Saturdays, during the day. It was really tough. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and a lady came into my life, and she used to be a nurse. And she said, "Steph, have you ever thought of giving this child up for adoption?" He was 8 months old. Well, when she had talked to me about it, he was 6.5 months old. And I said, yeah, I had thought about it, but when he got sick, right after I had him, I was with him every day at the hospital. Every day. I don't know how in the world I got there half the time. I can't even remember, but I did. And then when they finally released him from the children's hospital, I took him. And that took care of any possibility of any adoption that I'd planned. That wasn't going to happen. At least I didn't think so. So when he was about 6.5 months old or so, she came into my life suddenly, like an angel. And she said, "Have you considered it?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And she said, "What about now?" And I said, "No, I can't give my baby up. I love him with all my heart." And she said, "Honey, letting go of your child doesn't mean you don't love him. If you're giving him to people who are also going to love him, then that's love. And giving that child up is one of the greatest sacrifices you'll ever make. Well, to make things short, she was right. It was one of the greatest sacrifices I ever made. Every birthday that he had, I wondered and hoped and prayed that he was having a wonderful time. I used to watch the Bozo show because I was sure he was on it. And guess what? When he turned 19 years old, he found me. How about that? He found me. And by then I had 2 other children. I'd gone to college. I had straightened my life out. We had a home that was mine. And we had a nice new, basically new car. So, you know, it was kind of a shock to him. He wasn't expecting what he found for his mother. And that was over 20 years ago. Yeah. Because he's 40 now. He's 40 years old now. At any rate, it was a difficult time. Very difficult time. Now, but we got through it. We really did. And I thought everything was going okay. I had my other son. I had my other daughter. And I wanted all of them to be like my children. I tried with all my heart to bring him into the fold. But it wasn't going to happen because I didn't raise him. I wasn't quite his mother, if you can understand that. It was very difficult. Now, he kept in touch with me, and yes, we would go through a whole year or even 2 years and I wouldn't hear from him. And I forgot about that. We did do that. Well, we're doing it again. It's been a year since I've heard from him, as of today. I don't know what's happened to him. But that's life. And any moment that he makes contact with me is a moment of gratitude for me. Now here's the other roughie. See, giving him up, I gave up all my rights of being his mother. Yes, he may have come back into my life, but I'm not his mother. No, just didn't work out quite like that. He has called me Mom in the later years, he has. And he even called me Mama for a whole year. And that was after my other son died. He was a war hero. And he died. Now, when I gave my first son up, I tried to commit suicide. I'm not going to lie to you, I did. Didn't succeed. Here I am. And I'm glad I didn't succeed. I just didn't want to live anymore. He was my everything. Well, then my other son died. And I had a lot of support. I had a God that I was extremely grateful for, my Creator. I'm not in any religion. Let's clear that up now. But I do believe in my God wholeheartedly. And if it wasn't for God, my Creator, I wouldn't be here today. Because technically, I have lost 2 sons. And that's tough. A tough thing. And a mother's love and bond to her children is something that's beyond what I read for the definition of love. They need another section in there for mother's love, because that's a whole different thing, believe me. Well, I love y'all, and yes, I am going to put this in the challenged area, my Disabled Anonymous. I love you. Sorry it was so long, but that's life. Y'all have a great day today and tomorrow and the coming up new year, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye. I love you.